Republicans are bracing for the upcoming midterm elections, where their majorities in the United States Congress hang in the balance. In the lead-up to these critical elections, U.S. President Trump has issued a new decree, significantly increasing the hurdles for casting ballots via mail. The legality of this sweeping measure is currently uncertain and is expected to face immediate challenges. President Trump signed an order that directs his administration to create comprehensive lists of confirmed United States citizens who are eligible to vote in each state. Furthermore, the order dictates that mail-in ballot documents may only be dispatched to voters who appear on these approved lists. To enhance tracking and security, future ballot envelopes must also be equipped with unique tracking barcodes. During the signing, President Trump articulated his rationale, stating, "The fraud in mail-in voting is legendary." However, he has not yet provided any substantiated evidence to support this assertion. He also publicly labeled Democratic leaders in the U.S. Congress as corrupt, alleging they want to be able to cheat. This presidential action has immediately drawn fierce criticism and legal threats. The question of whether the U.S. president possesses the constitutional authority for such a measure remains largely unanswered. Democrats have wasted no time in announcing their intention to pursue legal action. Mark Elias, a prominent Democratic election lawyer, unequivocally declared, "We will sue. I am not bluffing, and I usually win." Derek Johnson, the president of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, known as the NAACP, added his voice to the opposition, stating firmly, "This order will not stand." Election expert David Becker went further, describing the executive order as clearly unconstitutional. California Governor Gavin Newsom has also vowed to confront the president in court. The core of the legal dispute lies in the United States Constitution itself, which assigns the responsibility for conducting elections primarily to individual states, not to the federal government. Despite these constitutional challenges, President Trump expressed confidence during the signing ceremony, asserting, "I do not see how this could be challenged in court." Ultimately, a final decision on the constitutionality of this decree could very well rest with the United States Supreme Court. President Trump's move comes after his Republican Party failed to pass his desired election reform through Congress. That proposed reform sought to mandate that voters nationwide present identification documents when casting ballots, a requirement not universally enforced in the United States, unlike in countries such as Germany. Additionally, citizens would have been required to provide proof of United States citizenship when registering to vote. In February, President Trump had publicly threatened to implement his desired reform via decree if Congress did not enact it into law. It is important to note that there is no verifiable evidence to suggest that mail-in voting is inherently less secure than in-person voting at a polling station. In fact, it is a standard and accepted practice in numerous democratic nations, including Germany, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Democracy organizations in the U.S. emphasize that the option to vote by mail enables millions of Americans to exercise their franchise, particularly those who might otherwise be unable to leave their homes due to disabilities or other challenges. President Trump famously refused to accept his defeat in the 2020 presidential election against Joe Biden, spreading unsubstantiated claims of widespread voter fraud and inciting the chaos that culminated in the violent storming of the Capitol on January 6, 2021, by his supporters. During that period, he notably portrayed mail-in voting as a prime vehicle for electoral fraud. However, ahead of the November 2024 presidential election, President Trump had seemingly reversed course, urging his supporters to utilize mail-in voting. This current decree is not President Trump's only action regarding mail-in voting. In March of last year, he signed a separate decree that restricts mail-in voting by prohibiting states from counting mail-in ballots received after Election Day. A United States Supreme Court decision concerning the legality of this specific decree is anticipated by the end of June. Again, election rules in the United States traditionally fall within the jurisdiction of individual states. With the midterm elections for the U.S. Congress scheduled for November, these elections represent the most significant test yet for President Trump in his current term. Republicans are particularly concerned about their narrow majority in the House of Representatives, and their majority in the Senate could also be at stake. Should the Democrats manage to gain control of either or both chambers, it would significantly restrict President Trump's legislative and executive room to maneuver for the remainder of his presidency. What's your take on President Trump tightens mail-in voting rules, faces legal battle? Share your view in the comments. Do you think this will matter in the next news cycle? This video was generated using artificial intelligence